do you agree na ito bang Article 2 would be more interesting and important for the public? May mga nagsasabi kasi na parang yung una okay, kumbaga ang target was the president, pero malayo sa sikmura pa.
Yes. I think the first article na pinakita nila, no, Article 4, was supposed to be the shock value na meron kang vice president na kaya bitaw ng ganong kaanghang na salita or threatening language laban doon sa tao na isa-succeed niya in case matuloy yung threats na iyon. But I think yung Article 1 ngayon, which is on the confidential funds, isa siya sa pinaka-importante, if not pinaka-importante dito sa impeachment na ito, because consistent also with past impeachment cases, time ni President Erap, time ni Chief Justice Corona, yung nagtutulak talaga is corruption. No? Yun yung main na concern ng taong bayan. I think yung amounts involved here are not small amounts. Lagi silang conflated or compared to the flood control. But kahit smaller to than the total flood control na mess, hindi biro yung 600 plus, 700 plus million, no, na funds na hindi ma-account allegedly. So, importante siya today, or importante itong presentation na to kasi una, pasok siya doon sa critical concerns natin sa Constitution about good governance and public accountability. But pangalawa, isa din siyang teaching moment for the public to see na ano ba yung accountability for public funds sa government, paano ba ito mini-measure or ini-ensure sa ating saligang batas at sa mga proseso natin. At no, even for mga bagay like confidential expenses, intelligence expenses, paano ba sinisiguro ng batas natin at ng sistema natin na hindi nawawaldas yung pera na iyon?
So, attorney, strategic to, yung the way the prosecution is presenting yung articles.
I think so. And I think hindi naman, depende din kasi kung sinong interviewin nyo na prosecution spokesperson or member. Conflicting yung reasons kung bakit nauna yung Article 4 before Article 1. I think ultimately though, may buwelo kasi yung Article 4 for this. So whether or not convinced ka na napatunayan yung Article 4, yung Article 1 is just so important and backed by many documents, no, na parang mahirap for the public to turn their attention away from it, no? And kung ano yung sasabihin ng mga dokumento na iyon.
Pero kakaiba lang na parang pinaghiwalay pa nila dun. I'm apologize kasi I keep mentioning Article 2. Baka excited lang ako dun sa Article 2 which is about the SALN, di ba? So we are on Article 1, we came from Article 4, and the next is 3, and then 2. So, connected yung Article 1 at 2, and yet magkahiwalay.
Yes. Yung Article 1, Article 2, Article 3 are ilalump natin siya dun sa financial issues with the Vice President. So, Article 1 concerns whether nagkaroon ba ng misuse sa confidential funds. Pangalawa, relates to bribery. No? And I think yung pangatlo is on the SALN. So, meron bang ill-gotten wealth? Pag tinignan mo yung Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, common ang tema niya. Nagkaroon ba ng graft and corruption? No? Na central concern sa, not just sa 1987 Constitution, but historically sa ating bansa. No? Lahat ng malalaking skandalo na involved yung high officials natin in the past have something to do with graft and corruption. Meron bang pera na nanakaw sa pamahalaan? Or mayroon bang nakinabang privately, no, na public officer para mabigyan ng favor yung kaibigan, kapartido, no, sa pamahalaan.
Yung word na unusual was a big word from the first trial day of Article 1. Sa inyo ba malaking bagay yon when they say there's an unusual transaction? Although, of course, yung defense will try to downplay that. Ano? They said naman, yes, we recognize na meron talagang ganyang transaction, and just because it's unusual doesn't mean it's illegal.
I think it's very important. Okay. If nakinig tayo dun sa discussion last week about itong sa anti-money laundering terminologies, masyadong nakafocus yung mga ibang senador doon sa ano ba ang difference ng suspicious, covered, and unusual. But I think yung naratibo naman kasi na gusto ipakita ng prosecution, if I understand correctly, is hindi karaniwan yung maglabas ng cash na daan-daang milyon, especially kung government bank, no? Or sorry, from a government or for a government agency. yung mga nagtatrabaho sa gobyerno, alam nila na required karamihan magkaroon ng land bank account.
Yes.
Kasi lahat ng disbursements, whether reimbursements or sweldo, dinadaan na through that. Mas secure din kasi yung transaction. So certainly, yung paglabas ng cash na daan-daan milyon, hindi yun nasa ordinaryong course. No? So independent of whether pasok ba siya sa suspicious or covered transaction sa money laundering, mahalaga na ma-point out na hindi karaniwan yung ganito kalaki na amounts na lumalabas in cash. And yung second level, kung ba't hindi siya karaniwan is, yung cash kasi historically and in practice, pag may ill-gotten activities or ill-gotten wealth activities or corrupt activities rather, usually cash ang transactions na kasi hindi nare-record ng bangko, no? Hindi mo kailangan maresibuhan, hindi nakikita yun nung bank transfers. So, kung may gusto ka itago, kadalasan cash mo siya gagawin. Kaya nga maraming bansa sa labas natin, no, na meron talagang efforts to clamp down yung use of cash for official transactions. So, important yun na I think na ipakita ng prosecution. Yung mas exciting, I think, na makita today, is susundan natin ngayon yung paper trail na yun. Mula nung nailabas yung amounts from the land bank, saan siya pupunta ngayon, no? And I think yung ebidensya galing sa COA, yun yung mag-shed ng light or magpapakita kung saan nga ba napunta batay sa kanilang audit or pag-aaral.
Baka kailangan nating bumalik sa basics, ano, when we talk about confidential funds. Actually, buuin natin yung pangalan, confidential and intelligence funds. So, just a quick refresher lang, attorney. What is that? Who gets it? And why?
Siguro simulan natin sa concept of paano ba gumagalaw ang funds sa pamahalaan. And generally, required kasi yan na naka-line item in government, no? And in particular, pag nakita niyo yung General Appropriations Act, yung budget, sobrang specific nung gastos. But kinikilala nung ating sistema na mayroong ibang expenses na for valid reasons, hindi mo pwedeng i-itemize bago pa mailabas yung pera na iyon. No? So for example, kung magpapagawa ka ng school building, usually nakasulat yan either in the General Appropriations Act or in another government budget, implementing document. Pero, for example, bayad ng tip sa informant, no? Or national security expenses na hindi naman pwede i-reveal to the public. Or pagbabayad ng safe house para sa mga witnesses. Or pagbabayad ng transportation expenses ng mga informant and similar surveillance agents, yun yung pumapasok yung confidential and intelligence funds. So confidential is generally surveillance for law enforcement. Intelligence relates to national security. So upang magastos iyon, kailangan mayroong agency na authorized to spend confidential and intelligence funds. Yung ibang LGUs natin, may confidential funds din sila. But sa ilalim ng COA, DBM, and a few other agencies, budget circular noong 2015, mayroon kasing requirement na patunayan nung head of agency, and in this case, yung Vice President for the Office of the Vice President, na nagastos ng tama yung funds na iyon. Kasi hindi nga siya as dali i-monitor dahil, di ba, secret nga, informant na gusto mo itago yung identity. And yet, hindi ibig sabihin nun na free ka gastusin. No? May restrictions on confidential funds. Hindi mo siya pwede gamitin na sweldo, hindi siya pwede gamitin pang-party or representation. No? And I think yun doon umiikot, no, yung ebidensya na lalabas today from the Commission on Audit na nasunod ba yung requirements upang i-liquidate or patunayan na tama yung paggastos sa mga pondong ito.
Okay. And kasi nga confidential, no? May special auditing rules ang COA for confidential funds for CIF. What do we know about it?
So alam natin for one na may accountable officer dito. Yung accountable officer ay yung head of agency, so the vice president, unless mayroong regular or plantilla officer na ide-designate ng pangalawang pangulo or ng head of agency para maging disbursing officer. Ibig sabihin nun siya mismo yung kailangan mag-aproba nung paglalabas ng cash doon sa or cash advance doon sa valid expense for confidential and intelligence purposes. Kailangan din magkaroon ng physical and financial plan, yung tawag nila PFP. Ito yung naka-detail doon kung ano ba yung programa na gusto i-achieve ng confidential fund, ano yung physical target niya at ano yung budget for it. Kailangan kasama yon doon sa liquidation nung
Okay.
funds nung in this case the vice president. So yung example nung PFP, safe house, bahay ng informant, no?
Okay.
Kailangan siya itago for a while, kailangan mayroon doong program na naka-attach iyon, no? So for example, witness protection program ng ahensya, tapos nakasulat doon yung kung ano yung item na bibilhin or paggagamitan ng confidential fund and magkano. And then you can imagine na for every item na ilalabas nila from the confidential and intelligence funds, naka-detail yon in that PFP. So, hindi ko pa nakita yung PFP. If sinabit man, generally kasi confidential yan, sinasabit lang siya to the auditor. But yun yung expected natin na makita today. Noong niliquidate or inaudit, ng Commission on Audit yung Vice President, basically, nung binusisi nila yung spending ng Vice President sa confidential funds, una, nakita ba nila yung requirements for liquidation? At pangalawa, may nakita ba sila na irregular, unexplained, no, unusual doon sa paggastos? Kasi hindi porke na-submit yung requirements na iyon, ay may takas na kaagad yung official. Tinatingnan din ng Commission on Audit kung meron bang irregularity doon sa expense, meron bang excessive doon sa expense, or mayroon bang hindi advantageous doon sa pamahalaan.
Nakatutok pa din kayo sa ABS-CBN News special coverage ng impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte. At kasama pa rin natin dito sa studio ang ating resident legal expert, si UP College of Law Assistant Professor Paulo Tamase. Kanina, bago tayo nag-break, banggitin lang natin yung mga mini away ng ating mga senador. Again, the public is watching, tapos meron tayong mga ganito. How is that affecting yung credibility ng prosesong ito? Especially since we're talking about senator judges. And they have their own little, issues happening.
Definitely may effect siya on yung confidence that the public can give to the Senate na gagawin niya yung work niya impartially.
Yes.
It's not hindi naman coincidental lang yan na yung magkakaaway na senators, and it's not just based on the reporting earlier, si Senator Lacson and si Senator Cayetano. On the other side din sila nung aisle, basically. Minority versus majority pa rin yung away nila. So, nakakababa ng kumpiyansa yun kasi in past impeachment trials, medyo malaki yung expectation natin sa senators natin na kapag dating na ng trial, parang umaakyat sila dun sa higher level. Kaya nga sila naka-robes at lahat
Yes.
na impartial judges ang tingin nila, at within each other, hindi sila nag-aaway in the open. So by analogy, pag tinignan niyo yung Korte Suprema natin noong early 2010s na nagkaroon ng gusot sa loob ng court, medyo delegitimizing din yun for the court. So may expectation kasi na yung judges, senators ngayon, titignan muna nila yung interest ng kaso and ng publiko instead of yung pansarili nilang interest at yung mga sigalot or away nila sa isa't isa. But at the same time, I think yung noticeable din kasi ngayon na different from before is hindi naman unusual na magkaroon ng hidwaan or hindi pagkakasundo yung mga senators. I think ang nangyayari lang ngayon ay sobrang personal nung galit nila sa isa't isa, na nakakasira yon sa confidence hindi lang sa impeachment but sa Senado mismo, kung kaya ba nilang gampanan yung trabaho nila professionally. So matagal pa naman yung trial. Tignan natin kung mag-i-improve yung situation in the next few weeks.
Although it provides the public, tayo mga nanonood, ng parang some sort of distraction.
Yes.
Minsan, I'm sorry to say, minsan parang entertainment on the side.
Para siyang side quest sa
Oo nga
And I guess if it keeps the public informed and watching the proceeding, sige, okay na lang din siguro. Pero on the whole, parang gusto kasi natin na yung public ma-draw nung pinag-uusapan na mahalaga, yung responsibility ni Vice President, yung defenses niya laban sa charges sa kanya, na yun yung pag-usapan natin imbis na yung kung hindi man itong sigalot between senators ay yung mga pagandahan naman ng presentation ng mga abogado, which is another distraction in the trial.
Although going into the trial naman, alam naman natin yung pagkakahati talaga napaka linaw na, nakita na natin yon, yung pagkakaiba ng mga posisyon ng ating mga senador, 'di ba? Pero and unfortunately, some people are already expecting na for them to vote this way or that way. Pero ano yung impact nun sa kanila bilang mga senador at sa kanilang eventual mga career as public officials?
Yeah, good question. If you look at past impeachments, wala namang kasing pretense na yung mga senators,
Yes.
nawawala yung political bias nila. But meron silang at least attempt to show to the public na fair sila mag-decide. And hindi siya about making disclaimers on the floor na patas lamang po ako or hindi patas naman ako sa both sides. Nakikita kasi natin yan na madalas lately na parang posturing ng senators. Dati napapakita yun ng senator sa una, patas na pagtatanong.
Yes.
No? Hindi sila parang cross-examiner, nagtatanong talaga sila ng pang-clarification dun sa mga hindi malinaw. At pangalawa, I think, napapakita yun ng senators before doon sa refusal nila to engage with the larger public on the merits of the case. Parang kahit sila mismo nananahimik sila. And siguro pangatlo na pandagdag, yung fair way that they ask, na parang hindi combative sila na magtanong. Marami dun sa norms na yun nawala for this impeachment trial. In the last 4 weeks, mas combative yung senators natin.
Yes.
And I think nawala din kasi yung expectation before na kung hindi mo gawin yung trabaho mo as in the Estrada impeachment, yun yung allegation ng mga tao na hindi nyo ginawa yung work ninyo sa second envelope, matatalo kayo sa eleksyon. Ngayon parang may confidence kahit papaano yung senators na siguro sobrang polarized ng lipunan natin ngayon na kahit anong gawin namin, kahit bumoto kami for another side, na malinaw naman yung ebidensya, hindi kami matatakot doon.
So, you think it is because of that realization, attorney, kung bakit less combative sila ngayon? Or is it because, nasa ano pa lang tayo parang sabi ko nga kanina sa'yo, parang set up pa lang into maybe more controversial na mga bagay. Dahil documentary witnesses pa lang yung pinag-uusapan natin dito. Back managers, COA auditors.
Yes, siguro multiple things. The first is siguro nakikinig naman sila doon sa kritisismo na, and I'm sure, diba, binabantayan nila yung public polling on this. Hindi talaga masaya yung taong bayan with the Senate in the last few months. And not just with the impeachment, but before the impeachment, yung away for the leadership. But siguro at the same time, nakita din nila na hindi pa ito yung uubusin ba talaga nila yung energy nila pag-awayan yung mga ebidensya na hindi naman kino-controvert. So ang meaningful na nakita natin nung last week is yung defense mismo, hindi sila nag-cross-examine. Or halos hindi, in the second witness, isa or dalawa lang yung tanong. And I think that speaks to why sobrang importante ng mga dokumento ngayon. Yung cheque, mahirap kasi pabuwalaanan yan na hindi siya totoo, di ba? Or mahirap sabihin na hindi talaga na-encash yan kasi may records yung bangko. Dito din sa COA, kahit papaano, pinagkakatiwalaan natin yung Commission on Audit na independent sila and therefore gagawin nila yung trabaho nila. But I guess as yung evidence becomes less unquestionable and purely objective, dun siguro tayo makakita ng mas may tension among hindi lang among the lawyers involved but the senators themselves.